Now joining me from Germany is a regular face on the Rise America. She is the Director of Strategic Initiatives, Democrats Abroad. Ms. Angela Fobbs, a lovely evening to you. Now, what's your assessment of the migrant raids in LA? Please bring us up to speed with what we are, talking about here, faced with.
Well, what we're faced with is a president who's out of control. He has not declared that the Insurrection Act, but he's decided to harm U.S. citizens and immigrants at the same time. Hundreds of people have been arrested, and quite frankly, I think that this is a test balloon for martial law in the United States.
Was deployed to handle the protests. What do you make of how the president is handling that situation, being that I know that state laws and federal laws can, conflict, but I mean, just to, bring to bear the fact that some people are in hospitals as we speak, how do you think he, handled the situation?
I think that Donald Trump handled the situation like he handles every situation that has to do with the American people. He goes too far. Protesting is not rioting, and protesting is constitutional. The people that came out to try to protect people who were being incarcerated, they're not rioters. And as you can see in that picture that you're showing, they are peacefully protesting. There's no need to order 2,000 National Guardsmen to Los Angeles to harm anyone. These people are exercising their constitutional rights, and just as always, Donald Trump doesn't respect the Constitution.
Look at the real issues here. We have the, federal laws, we have the state laws. How do you think, the conflict with laws in certain states could, create such conflicts, being that now we're looking at what the Constitution actually says. It differs from what the Constitution states, for California and what the federal law states. So how do you handle such scenarios when they're conflicting, interests?
Well, you don't handle them by shooting flashbangs into a crowd of people. That's number one. And that, yes, that Donald Trump has the right to call out the National Guard, and because it does serve both state and federal interest. But normally, the National Guard operates under state control and it's using state funding, so it's not necessarily used as a government tool. Um, I think that there are other ways to handle this situation. If you look at the pictures that you're showing, this is a horrifying situation. And I just want to note for the record that when the January 6th riot was taking place, or should I say the attempted coup was taking place, he didn't call out the National Guard. So I think that ordinary American citizens who are trying to exercise their constitutional rights by protesting against these terrible roundups of immigrants should not have 2,000 troops called on them, and they definitely shouldn't have flashbang grenades thrown into a crowd of normal people. The United States isn't a battleground; it's our country, and he needs to protect it instead of abusing people.
Before we step further into that conversation, can you let us understand what the LA or this area, the Paramount area, is really about? We've heard things like it's more like a sanctuary because he hosts both illegal and legal migrants. Can you give us, knowledge, of what, LA is like, talking about California now?
Well, California overall has a large Hispanic Latino population, and this area is a specific area that a lot of citizen Latinos and, of course, migrant Latinos live in. They've been living there for years. California is one of the states, if you just want to go back into the past, that was actually taken over from Spain. So it has a large and long-standing Hispanic population there. And so, yeah, they probably, just like in many other raids where they've taken Hispanic people, they don't always check first to see if they're citizens or non-citizens. So I can understand why they would be upset, because this is their community, and Hispanic people have been living in California since the 15th or 16th century. It's not something new.
Right. So do you agree with Governor Newsom when he said earlier that these types of approach is arbitrary and could lead to escalated tension? And what do you see or perceive happening in the next few days or hours, if you like?
Well, this is a moving situation that actually started last weekend. There were actually things like this happening not as extreme last weekend, but it did start in a small community of people where they actually brought the troops out to try to do something. But these the American people, do not want people, migrants, snatched from the street. They do not want this. And if this continues, I don't see anything good coming from it. In fact, I fear that Trump will declare martial law, especially given the fact that next weekend there are thousands of protests scheduled across the United States against Donald Trump and his military parade.
So from what we know, the laws protect the rights of, immigrants, whether legal or illegal, as long as they are law abiding, because they do most of the jobs in that economy. So the local law enforcement in California is not meant to cooperate with the federal law enforcement. So how true is this, and how would this shape the Trump administration in dealing with state laws?
Well, the Trump administration, the federal government has some say over what happens in states, but states are allowed to create their own laws. And as far as I understand, California is a sanctuary state where they do not actively seek, and they actually try to protect migrants that come to the United States. So if Trump persists in his attitude, this is going to cause a big clash, and it's bigger than what is already happening. And I fear for the safety of my fellow Americans in California, and I fear for the safety of the migrants that have come here that are working, because they pick them up at their jobs. So they're not committing crimes. They're not taking anything from the United States. They're only giving their services, their work, to the United States. And in a sense, they should be protected because we need them.
So now, quickly, if Trump succeeds, what impact would that have on the economy? We know that he was on the phone earlier with Governor Newsom. We don't have details of what that conversation was about. But if Trump succeeds, what is the impact of that on the California economy?
I think it's going to have a large effect on the California economy. Migrants, they do construction work, they do farm work, they do work in restaurants, they do all of the things that Americans don't want to do anymore. And it will have a devastating effect on not just California, but on the entire country.
Thank you so much for your time, Angela Fobbs. She is a director, social initiatives there, Democrats Abroad.